Hi there, wish you a very happy new year 2023. Welcome to my new channel and the first chapter for the channel. Welcome to Elucidate with AJ, where we will delve into depth of various topics and explore their meaning, implication, and significance. I'm AJ, your host. I'll be taking you through this all thought-provoking and engaging conversation. So join me as we embark on this journey of enlightenment and expansion of knowledge. Let's elucidate together. From current event to timeless philosophical debates, we'll be covering a wide range of subjects that are sure to stimulate your mind and spark your curiosity. So today, our first topic will be one of the things that a lot of people are talking about and people still believe and people are confused, and I think I was also confused a lot of times, but that is the reason that I thought that let me do this as my first topic. And that reminds me of one of the principles that was said by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And that is one of the first principles, that let's have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing, so that we can learn and we can evolve. Today, the discuss and the theory is around nothing is right and wrong, and relativity of this theory with today's confirmation bias phenomenon, which we all going through. And I had gone through a lot in the past, and I'm trying to also follow this principle by Dr. Wayne Dyer, which definitely helps me to evolve and grow. And I'm sure that will also enlighten you people who are listening to this podcast. So let's go into the introduction of this theory and how the relativity comes to. The introduction of this theory is nothing right and wrong suggests that the concept of right and wrong is not absolute, but rather it is relative and dependent on an individual's circumstances and biases. This theory is often associated with the concept of moral relativism, which is the belief that there is no universal standards of right and wrong, and that moral value and principle vary from one culture to another. Confirmation bias is a psychological phenomenon that refers to tendency of people to seek out and interpret information in a way that confirms their existing beliefs and biases. So let me dive in and explain the theory to you. The statement that suggests that the concept of right and wrong is not absolute, but rather it is relative and dependent on an individual's circumstances and bias. In other words, what one person may consider to be right or wrong may not be the same for another person, because each individual experiences, culture, background, and personal beliefs can shape their perception and actions. This idea is often associated with the concept of moral relativism, which is the belief that there is no universal standard of right and wrong, and that moral values and principles vary from one culture to another, one person to another, one country to another country, one citizen to another citizen, and different part of the world. According to moral relativism, what is considered morally acceptable in one society may not be the same in another society, and there is no objective way to determine which moral values are superior and which are inferior. It is important to note that the concept of moral relativism does not necessarily means that all action and beliefs are equally valid, or that there is no such things as moral progress. Instead, it is simply acknowledges that moral judgment are shaped by culture and personal factors, and that it is important to consider these factors when evaluating the actions and belief of others. Overall, the idea there is no inherent right or wrong and that people actions and perceptions are shaped by their circumstances and the biases that they're suffering with, or the biases highlights and complexity and subjectivity of moral judgment. And this encourages empathy and understanding towards those who may hold different value and beliefs. Confirmation bias is a psychological phenomenon that refers to the tendency of people seeking out or interpreting information in the way that confirms their existing beliefs and biases. This can lead individuals to selectively pay attention to certain pieces of information while ignoring the others, and to interpret ambiguous information in a way supports their pre-existing values and views. So while we had explained and we had understood about the confirmation bias and the theory of nothing is right and wrong, let's go into examining and exploring this concepts. Again, the theory of nothing right and wrong can have several implications for how we approach moral judgment and decision making, by acknowledging that moral values and beliefs are shaped by culture and individual factors and their circumstances. We can become more empathetic and understanding towards those who may hold different values and beliefs by putting ourselves in their shoes and understanding their culture much better. We can try to consider the cultural and personal context in which those beliefs arose and understand where others are coming from. Confirmation bias also influences the way we approach moral decision making by leading us to seek out and pay more attention to information that confirms our pre-existing beliefs. This can create a self-reinforcing cycle where we continue to expose ourselves to information that confirms our belief system rather than challenging and expanding on them to avoid the effect of confirmation bias. It is important to seek out diverse and opposing viewpoint and to be open to the possibilities that our belief may be wrong or incomplete. And that brings me again to the one of the principle that was being explained by Dr. Wayne Dyer, that let's have a mind which is open to everything and attached to nothing. And let's create this practice of reducing confirmation bias on our life and judging other people that what is right or what is wrong, because it's not the same. So let me also elaborate this with a couple of examples in both the theories. So here are the examples. I'll be very specific around the examples. So let's take example for right and wrong theory. As we know that the polygamy has been practiced in a lot of cultures since a long time ago, but in some cultures and society, polygamy is considered to be perfectly acceptable and even desirable from marriage point of view. Polygamy is the concept or is the practice to have multiple spouses. However, in other cultures and society, polygamy is considered to be morally wrong and is illegal. This illustrates the cultural relativism of moral values, as what is considered right or wrong varies from culture to culture. Let's now take example for confirmation bias. So, suppose a person has had a negative experience with a certain brand of car, and as a result, they have a strong belief that all cars from that brand are unreliable. Whenever they come across information that supports their belief system or their bias, such as a news article about a recall for the brand of the car, they are likely to pay more attention to it and to view it as a confirmation for their belief system. At the same time, they may ignore or dismiss information that contradicts their belief system, such as positive reviews and experience around that same brand of the car. So these are a couple of examples which I hope helped you to understand both the things and how they are related. And so, not taking a long time from you, let me jump into the conclusion of the whole thing that we have just discussed now. The theory of nothing right or wrong and the concept of confirmation bias highlights the complexity and subjectivity of moral judgment and encourage empathy and understanding towards those who may hold different values and belief systems. By acknowledging that moral value and beliefs are shaped by cultural and individual factors, and by being aware of the influence of confirmation bias, we can approach moral decision making with a more nuanced and open-minded perspective. And here are some key takeaways that I think we should take from this topics. From these theories include the importance of considering cultural and individual context in moral judgment, and the need to seek out diverse and opposing viewpoints in order to avoid judging others' decisions and choices in their life and in their own circumstances. However, observing the holistic point of view of others and learning from them could be more valuable in order to learn and evolve in our life at our workplace, because as you know, the world is turning to a global culture and the world is getting smaller and smaller every day. So it is nice to understand other people's situation and other people's choices and respect them rather than judging them, because it will definitely not help us in our life and in our workplace, especially if you work abroad or you're traveling a lot. As per my take and my perception, the decision or the choices that are made by others, if not creating any kind of violences, abuse or damage to fellow human beings or society, should be accepted as fair. So we should not be offended, as it is unnecessary to put us under emotional and mental stress and fog our minds. It is also interesting sometimes other people confirmation bias can project fear on you and influence your decisions, which might navigate you towards a successful version of yourself in future. So why to make choices with other people confirmation bias and where they can project fear to yourself? It is very important that we all should take choices and decision. It is very important that we should all make choices and take decision to take care of ourselves, to take care of society, to give back to the society, and to take care of our family, and of course to work and whatever we are working with and how we are navigating our life. That is very important. I think everybody should have their own circumstances, and according to circumstances we should take the decision. And we all suffer through confirmation bias, but I think this confirmation bias also changes from time to time, as long as you keep your mind open to everything and attached to nothing, especially to the past. So please make choices carefully as per your circumstances. And that will be all from me today. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it, and I really share my gratitude with you to tune in to my channel and to listen to this topic discussion. I hope that this had added value to some of your thought process and maybe give you some enlightenment in the process of listening to this. And please feel free to share what you think about this concept and how did I explain, and let me know if you have any feedback. I'm happy to also evolve and come up with more relevant topics and relevant agenda which will help us to think more and evolve and grow in our personal and professional life. And if you think this podcast was helpful, or you think it is a relative status that you might want to convey this kind of message to some other people or peers or friends or family, please do share this podcast or this video with them so that they can also have a clear understanding around what is their thinking process and how this confirmation bias actually affects us, and how there is nothing right or wrong. It is just a simple perception, and people are different, and that is why people make different choices, and that might not suit everybody. Thank you very much. I will see you in next episode. Cheers, guys.